I'm going to lay out kind of a big picture, what goes on in my mind that the framework then becomes for a jury. Let's start at the highest level of it. I realize that what it's really about at the end of the day with that kind of case where there's no punitive element to it at all, officially or unofficially, is having a jury recognize and embrace the concept of why we're here in the first place, which is to recognize fully and completely the value of what was taken in the way of health. And its real core, probably the one principle that I build everything around it is this saying I came up with years ago, and I can't tell you the number of times I've said it with a jury. It's not about how much she's going to get. It's about how much was taken, what's the fair value for what was lost. That galvanizes in a simple, catchy phrase. It isn't celebrating a pile of money. I got a big hole dug, and I'm never going to fill the hole. It's impossible. I'm always going to be in a deficit. But if we're serious about recognizing, and that sounds like a unimportant word to me, it's at the core of the idea we're trying to get across the jury is that we're recognizing formally in this formal court proceeding the full value of what was taken in the way of health. And it's not about how much you're going to get. It's about how much was lost that'll never be recaptured. Sometimes when you talk about a significant amount of money, people say that's more money than so-and-so makes in X amount of time. The idea is we're not measuring someone else's income. We're measuring something far more treasured by human beings, far more precious, our health. But having said that, some people do feel, gosh, that's so much money, and it's hard not to measure it. Now, I know all of y'all know that someone's net worth has nothing to do with how much worth they put on their health. Someone who lives in the penthouse doesn't treasure their health any more than someone who maybe washes their car. Health doesn't tie to someone's net worth. It's treasured by all of us. To me, when I get a good verdict and I got a nice defendant no one's mad at, who just, wasn't doing their job on the road that day, the things that get it to me are the things we talked about together with things like, this was thrust into my client's life unnaturally by no fault of her own. Or even if it's comparative, I leave out the no fault of her own. Thrust into Miss Jones' life unnaturally. Why I like that is it separates it from everybody sitting on the panel who's got an achy back and no one gave them money. I say, look, she didn't get it from rolling out of bed one day wrong and falling. She didn't get it from picking up a sack of potatoes and throwing her back out. She didn't get it because she played sports when she was younger and tore up her back. She didn't get it because she had some disease, just happens like it can happen to people. One moment she didn't have it for her whole life. And at that moment, everything changed. Someone who wasn't doing their job on the road that day, not being careful, being dangerous, slammed into her. And now for the rest of her life, she's going to live with this, was thrust into her life unnaturally by no fault of her own. Now jurors are going, that's different than what I got. So the last piece of that is, in that car crash type case, is an analogy. And that really makes it personal to juries from something they can understand. And that's, if, for example, if this, what this pain's like? It's like my client, like someone wakes up one day, slept wrong, and they got a crick in their neck. Or if it's a low back, like this case I just finished, slept wrong, and they got that burning kind of sciatica feeling running down the back because they slept wrong. You can do it either. I'll stick with it. Crick in their neck, and they wake up, and the first thing they say in the morning, they moan, and their wife says, what's the matter? Says, I slept wrong. Boy, my neck, I got this crick in my neck. It's stiff. Wife says, oh, I'm sorry, honey. Nah, not a big deal. It'll be gone in a while. Goes to work. Every little thing he does all day, picks up a briefcase, sets it down, sits in his chair, hurts after a while, gets worse, stands, feels better, but after a while that hurts. Changing lanes, looking at a blind spot, it's tight and uncomfortable all day long. Comes home that day. Wife says, how was your day? Okay, but this crick in my neck, I sure hope it goes away soon. This is no fun. She says, honey, maybe you better go to the doctor. Nah, I don't need to go to the doctor. Goes to bed, wakes up on day 2. Wife says, what? I was hoping to be gone. Goes to work. Same thing all day. You know what he doesn't do? He doesn't call in sick. You know what else he doesn't do? He isn't walking around going, ow, 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 my neck hurts. People say, you big baby, get over it. No one looking at him has a clue what's going on except his wife. I mean, they're married. They share things. Nobody else would have any idea. But now it's really starting to get on his nerves. Enough's enough. We're halfway through day 2. He goes home, walks in the house, and he's cranky with the kids. The wife says, what's the matter? He says, I'm sorry, this thing's, really putting me in a bad mood. Well, maybe you better go to the doctor. This time, maybe a little bit more about not wanting to crank in the house. Wakes up day 3, wife's in brushing her teeth. She hears, hallelujah. She says, what? He goes, it's gone. Well, that's what my client's injury is like, except there is no hallelujah ever. And it didn't come because he slept wrong in the bed. Someone ran him in the road and it's there and it's never, ever gone away. Now people remember. They go, God, I remember when everyone's had it happen to them. And they remember how much it was driving them batty. And they remember how glad it was when it was gone. And all of a sudden they go, that is a big injury if it never went away. And if someone did it to me, rather than it just happen, you better back up a Brinks truck. Now they get it. The new process, because I just got tired of facing that, was give them a homework assignment. Bring them into your office, or you can talk to them on the phone. And say, I say give them like one of the little moleskins. Give them the thing to keep them in so it's formal, so they don't end up not doing it. And say, and explain to them what I just explained. No one cares about this. I'm not saying we're not going to talk about it. I know it matters to you. But you are turning your injury into nothing compared to what it is. And what I need you to do is, I want you to go home. I want you to keep this with you at all times and pick a time, 2-3 days a week. Week's probably best, but some time period. And I want you to think about throughout the day, I don't care how little and petty it is. This may never see the light of day. I need to know every little thing that comes up with you where you notice, not just where you don't do something, but where you do it, but you do it different, or where you had to stop and think, I'm going to do it, and there's a decent chance it's going to ramp my pain up. My pilot light pain is going to go to a flare-up pain, but I'm going to do it anyhow because it's important to me, and I'm not going to stop doing. So every time in your mind you have even a split second, do it or don't do it, knowing you're going to pay a price if you do it. Even though you're going to do it, I want you to list it. And then if you have a consequence and you got a little more pain, even if it was only sore, it hurt for 5 minutes more, write it down. Every little thing you don't do, every little thing you do, but you had to think about it, and every little thing you do, but you made a slight adjustment to it. When you get up with your client and they start telling all those little things, it's not the things they can't do. With that herniated disc, the reason the defense thinks they're going to win every time is they think we're going to try the wrong case. We're going to try this is an injury like cane pain. You limp and can see it, and you can't do 90% of what you used to do. It's not that kind of case. Never was. You can't judge a book by its cover case. That doesn't mean the content doesn't tell a horror story. You just got to tell it truthfully, honestly, and frame it to where jurors aren't looking for something it's not. And here's what I know. This is where I picked up the right language for this group. I said, the courtroom is not a place to worry about being politically correct, nor is it a place to cancel out the truth. So I'm saying cancel culture, political correctness. I really fooled myself into thinking there were some people going to say yes, they did. But I think it made a big difference because when I finished it, I said, now, is anybody offended that I asked that? And no one raised their hand. And I said, does everybody understand why I really needed to, why I asked it? And they all went, made me feel a hell of a lot better because I've been scared of that question my whole life. I finally asked it. Yeah. And then I wrapped it up with, said, and I need to ask each of you. We all talk about equal justice, justice for all. It's constitutional. And we know Lady Justice has the blindfold. It doesn't mean she's blind. It means she's blind to these kind of things. How many of you think those concepts are more than just words, but this is part of being an American, and it's important to stand up for it, and it's worth fighting for it? How many of you feel that way? And it was the thing of beauty. People's voices cracked over. Mine did. And so, and then I got to closing and I did not circle back and say, remember now and shame them. I thought
Mhm.
that had been a huge mistake. What I did do is say, remember, we talked about race during jury selection. I am so glad we did that because now we can all have peace of mind that this verdict is going to be based on the merits and only the merits. And we can do all American justice. What we're after are words that will reliably tap into a memory and evoke a certain outpour of an emotion. It doesn't have to be anger. It's just, it starts momentum in a direction we want it to go, and it's in the kind of state of mind we want. So there's negative and positive activator words. One activates some emotion that's going to outflow or memory we're not wanting. The other is we do want. So if you take that simple principle and you take just a couple examples, like you say following too close. Well, you know what? That is inert. One person is going to say, God damn it, they're following too close, it's dangerous. The next person is going to think about driving down the highway at rush hour and everyone's bumper to bumper traffic. That's why we call it bumper to bumper traffic. It's too ambiguous. I can't control or predict how one person is going to react in the next. It's fun and it's so powerful to use those right words when you're talking to a jury. It's like, here's a simple one. This is so simple. And I tried a case recently with a fantastic lawyer, someone I'd hire for my family. But I cringed because I know I've done it and I tried to not do it. But he was up and he was talking about things that the defendant shouldn't do, kind of rules of the road, Rick Friedman kind of rules of the road. He typed stuff on cross. And he said, you're not supposed to do that. And you're not supposed to. And I thought, you're putting the jurors into the defendant's shoes. Don't say you, because it's easy to say. I do it all the time. I'm writing. I go, no, not you. They aren't supposed to, not you. As soon as you say you, the juror's feeling it to the person you're criticizing. When you say they, you're criticizing someone else. They're better than that.